There's just something about an island. We think of them as an escape, a place of total isolation and beauty. But what happens when that isolation sours? When you realize the water all around you isn't keeping the world out, but it's actually keeping you in? Well, that beauty turns terrifying fast. Today, we're diving into 3 true stories where paradise became a prison. Islands have this kind of split personality in our minds. On one hand, yeah, they're the ultimate paradise, the sanctuary totally cut off from all the noise. But on the other hand, they are the perfect prison. Once you're out there, you are trapped. You are completely at the mercy of your surroundings, and whatever or whoever might be there with you. It's that terrifying switch that's at the heart of all these stories. That one single moment when you realize the isolation you were so desperate for has just become your biggest weakness. So what really happens when your sanctuary suddenly becomes your cage? Okay, our first story starts with a guy we're going to call Leo. He's 22, totally burned out, and he's trying to run away from what he calls a pretty colorful past. He just needs to disappear for a while, and he finds what he thinks is the perfect spot, a tiny, remote island off the coast of Maine. He finds his vacation rental, this little standalone cottage right on the shoreline. The price? It's suspiciously cheap, and it's free at the last minute. But honestly, he's not in a place to be asking questions. This is it. One room, set back from the water, surrounded by thick woods. The perfect place to be completely alone. Now, individually, any one of these details doesn't mean a whole lot. But when you start adding them up, they paint a really unsettling picture. The deadbolt and chain on the door, they look brand new. The bartender at the only pub on the island gives him this strange look when he says where he's staying. He sees a single, lonely motorboat at a dock nearby. And then his phone charger breaks. His only link to the outside world is just gone. He's so exhausted, he falls asleep almost instantly. But something wakes him up in the middle of the night. And that's when he hears it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. The crunch, crunch of boots on the gravel right outside his door. There's this long pause between each step. This is no animal. This is someone taking their sweet time. After trying the doorknob and banging on the door, everything goes dead silent. Leo's crouched down, heart pounding out of his chest, when a man's voice, a voice he doesn't recognize, cuts through the quiet. And this is the real horror of it. The voice says, "I know you're in there, Leo." They didn't just find the island. They didn't just find the cottage. They knew his name. That feeling of being found when you think you're hidden is just chilling. Our next story is about a different kind of discovery. This one takes us all the way to the coast of Japan. With a structural engineer, his research gets him a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a special permit to go explore the forbidden, crumbling buildings of Hashima Island. So what exactly is Hashima? Picture a fortress of concrete buildings just rising up out of the sea. They call it Battleship Island. At its peak, it was a packed, bustling coal mining city. But when the coal ran out, everybody left. In 1974, it was totally abandoned, just left to rot. Today, you can visit, but going inside the buildings? Strictly forbidden. Our engineer is like a kid in a candy store, at first. But as he's exploring, he starts noticing things that just don't add up. First, a clear path worn through decades of dust. Then, a room with this weird smell and a wall that's warm. When he points it out to his escort, a guy named Tishi, the man just says it's impossible. But then the engineer finds the smoking gun, a pile of blankets and empty water bottles. This is the exact moment everything flips. He has proof. He's not crazy. He turns all triumphant, ready to show his escort, but Tishi is gone. Just vanished. And in that instant, all the excitement of his discovery just collapses into sheer terror. He is not alone on this island. He just bolts. He's running blindly through this maze of crumbling concrete, and behind him, he hears movement. And it's not just one person. It sounds like multiple sets of footsteps. He's not just being watched, he is being hunted through the ruins of Battleship Island. He finally makes it back to the dock, sprinting and screaming his head off. And Tishi, he's just standing there, by the boat, looking bored. He doesn't react to the story, the chase, the proof, nothing. Which raises a really chilling question. Was Tishi just a guide? Or was he something more, like a gatekeeper, making sure the island's secrets stayed secret? Okay, for our last story, we don't have to travel far at all. In fact, we're right in the middle of New York City on another forbidden island. This is North Brother Island, and it's home to an abandoned quarantine hospital. Three college students who are way into urban exploration decide to kayak out there in the dead of night. The narrator, he's a history major, so this is kind of his jam. He actually separates from his friends, Jansen and Jesse. He says he wants to take some mental notes, but, wandering off alone in a creepy, abandoned hospital on a forbidden island is, looking back, probably not the best idea. So as he's walking down this long, pitch-black hallway, he hears his name called from a room up ahead, and it's his friend Jesse's voice, perfectly. But something just feels wrong. For Jesse to be ahead of him, he would have had to sprint all the way around the building. It just doesn't make sense. The voice calls again. In here. It sounds like a familiar invitation. But the reality is, it was a lure. He steps into that dark room and sweeps his flashlight across it, and the beam, it lands on a figure, standing in the far corner, facing the wall. It's impossibly tall, maybe 6.5 feet or more, way taller than either of his friends. The sheer wrongness of it, the unnatural height, the weird posture, it's enough to send him screaming out of the room. These stories don't end with a nice, neat bow. There are no explanations, no final showdowns. What's left behind is actually way more chilling. It's the questions that just hang there in the dark, long after the immediate danger is gone. I mean, every story leaves us hanging. Who was hunting Leo, and how did they know exactly where he was? Who was living on Hashima Island, and was that professor who arranged the whole trip in on it? And what in the world was that tall figure on North Brother Island that could perfectly copy his friend's voice? We just don't have the answers. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. These stories, yeah, they're set on islands, but they tap into a much deeper fear. They suggest that all those empty spaces on our maps, the places we think are forgotten and lifeless, might not be. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many abandoned places are not truly empty?